What does the law of God require? Personal, perfect, and perpetual obedience. That we love God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love our neighbours as ourselves. What God forbids should never be done, and what God commands should always be done. Well, the law of God shows us what God is like. It shows us his character. Read through the Bible. God makes laws that establish justice. He makes laws that protect the vulnerable. He makes laws about work and worship, marriage and speech, because these things matter to him. God is the creator. He made the world according to his perfect will. He knows how life flourishes. He knows what brings misery and death. The law of God is given for us to obey. As we obey, our lives start to look like God's life. There are lots of laws, but Jesus famously summarised them for us. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind and strength, and love your neighbour as yourself. What does that tell us? Love matters. God gives laws, and the laws express God's love. Not a selfish, me-centred love, a love that looks to God as the fountain of all goodness. And we want to receive God, all his fullness for us. And then a love that builds up my neighbour, so that communities flourish with God's grace, watering us with life. When we think of the law, we often imagine courts, judges, lawyers. In the Bible, the word for God's law, Torah, should make us think of a father teaching a son the way the world works. Parents tell children that they shouldn't cross the road without looking. Well, the child might get frustrated, thinking, I'm in a hurry to get to the park, you're slowing me down. But the parent sees the bigger picture. The parent knows what is best. Well, God sees the bigger picture. God knows what is best for us. And if we don't understand, let's trust that God is right. See, the law of God makes us ask ourselves, do we trust our Creator? Do we recognise his authority? When we break God's laws, it's personal. It's a personal rejection of our Creator God. That's why obedience should be personal and perfect, because God is perfect. And our obedience should be perpetual. When we give good laws, instruction to our children, we want to shape them for their whole life. The instruction is more than just today, while our obedience to God should be lifelong, personal, perfect, and perpetual. And finally, God gives laws, and he gives a lot of freedom. He doesn't give us instructions for every single minute of every single day. Laws can be like boundaries. A play park might have a lot of freedom, but the fence keeps people away from the river. The fence doesn't stop freedom, it enables freedom, the freedom to play and enjoy the park. Well, God's law sets boundaries so that we might enjoy freedom. They're like the rails of a track. What is most free? A train on the rails or a train off the rails? That's why we should listen to God and obey him. What God forbids should never be done, and what God commands should always be done. Now, it only takes a moment to realise that we have not obeyed God as we should. We have failed to trust him. We have broken his commands. In coming weeks, we'll think about what that means and what God has done as a solution. But for now, question 7 of the New City Catechism is this. What does the law require? Personal, perfect, and perpetual obedience. That we love God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love our neighbours as ourselves. What God forbids should never be done, and what God commands should always be done.